Welcome to The Dark Side with Verity, a podcast where we dive into all the real and raw transformations made possible through breathwork. We all have a dark side, but it doesn't need to be heavy. And this is why we share stories to bring in the lightness, to lift the load so that we can all feel a little less alone and know that our stuff doesn't define us. And we move through this lifetime with more ease and grace. Let's dive right in. Welcome back to another episode of The Dark Side with Verity. Let's begin with our breath. I want you to close your eyes. Just take a big, deep breath. Feel the breath go to your lower belly, all the way up through your lungs to the tips of your shoulders, and then let it go. Sigh it out. Do two more like that. Let your body really settle. This is time for you. This is time for your body to experience life. Because life being present, it's what it's all about. The more we stress about what's happening in the world or how we're moving forward, it takes us out of being here and now. And we can only control what's in our realm. So let's not make it bigger than it needs to be right here in this moment. Beautiful. Come back to a breath that feels easy and natural now. And today's episode is how your nervous system is keeping you broke. Money can sometimes be a tough subject to talk about because it's in this space of wanting something, trusting that it comes, not wanting it too much because that means you're pushing it away energetically. So financial blocks aren't mindset problems. They're actual survival responses. Our body at some point learned that holding too much money, not having money, all of these things aren't safe. So we need to find a place in our body, in our nervous system that is comfortable with money. It is a neutral response. I've talked about this before when, say, charging for interior design. For the first couple of months, I didn't even send an invoice out. My body was frozen, like I wasn't good enough to get paid, even though I'd done the work. The clients loved it. But my body, for some reason, was like, whoa, hold up. And I guess that happens in every new profession or new role that you take on. I see my facilitators when they're certified, they're qualified, and they've been teaching for a couple of months at this point. Then they go to put their prices up, and all of a sudden they're putting this number that does not reflect the kind of class transformation that they are going to provide. As heartbreaking as it is for me, I have to let them go on their journey because I'm a person that generally can't really be told. I have to experience for myself. It's why in the Business Builders, I've got a whole section on money and money mindset because you already understand the tools. If you've done a breathwork session, you know that stored emotion or trauma or survival lives in your nervous system. It needs space and safety to be able to move that through. So when you start to raise your prices or you're pitching to a client or you post something that's vulnerable, the freeze flight response can happen in real time. Maybe it's like the rejection theory. I heard this the other day, where every time you go to a shop, you ask for a discount. 99% of the time, they're going to say no because in Australia, prices are generally prices. But it gives your body practice. And there might be that one time that they say, yes, here, have a discount. But your body gets used to the word no. The body gets used to rejection. So then it becomes neutral in your body. It's why I tell my facilitators to practice on friends and family first. They can sometimes be the hardest people to teach to. But once you get over that hurdle, there's always going to be more. But you are creating tools in your body to be able to build a window of tolerance. And that's why business decisions made outside of that are almost self-sabotage. If you trade, if you're in the trading game, if you're in the crypto world, that is real-time regulation needed. The other day, I was trying to shift some money around that I had staked. And because I hadn't been in that space for quite some time, I'd forgotten. I was overwhelmed at the time. I was quickly trying to get this done. I knew that my nervous system was in flight or fight. I knew. And so even though I have all the tools, I teach this stuff, there are moments in life where I look back now and go, I 100% should have not done that. Because instead of moving what I wanted to move, I moved another amount of money, and which meant that I actually could do nothing for another 365 days. Safe to say I was fuming at this point, and it had just been one of those weeks where I could feel myself getting really dysregulated in moments. And rather than being angry, I was just watching myself run through these old pathways or old habits. And so when we go through those spaces, this is where our body goes back to what it knows, because maybe it's not 100% safe, because I haven't been in my crypto wallets for a while. And I'd gone back in and I kind of panicked. Like, I didn't remember what I was doing. So rather than taking the time to sit and understand, I just went, quickly get it done. I need to move this here, 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 and shot myself in the foot. I used to teach big NFT communities breathwork when I was deep in this space, because I understand, and this is proof again of why you cannot do something from a dysregulated space. I was charged emotionally. I just wanted to get it done. There was lots of pressure. And instead of pausing, just having a moment to understand the whole system, I'm frantically typing to ChatGPT to tell me what to do, rather than actually being in the moment and seeing what I'm supposed to do. So then what happens is, rather than trusting myself, I've gone like, don't have a clue, don't know. And then I've gone back to trusting ChatGPT, which has zero idea of what I'm doing with my finances. So from this dysregulated space, then I've now lost out on another year of money. It's the same when you have clients or you're running an event. When you first start, you think that everybody needs to know everything you know. Meanwhile, I've been studying this stuff for 20 years. Self-development, world, coaching, NLP, hypnosis, all the things. Breathwork, 7 years. So do I think that somebody in one session or a 3-hour event needs to know the science of everything? As much as I want to tell them, because I get excited, it is actually not going to be beneficial, because all they're there for at the start is to feel better, feel a little bit lighter, and let go. So when you're in that fawn response, your body wants to give everything. And this is a place where undercharging and saying yes when you actually mean no come into play. Because transformation is priceless. I know that because I've spent way too much money on trying to find my version of happiness and being present. It is because there's no one path works for everybody. That's why I train my facilitators in so many different avenues, because not everybody needs to do the same deep breathe every single time. That is just absurd. You're listening to the person's nervous system and teaching it how to be safe again. Because we've all gone through so many different events in life, traumatic, not traumatic, our perceived perception of the world is ours. Nobody else has the same view. We can both be there having the exact same conversation, walk away, and we've both taken something completely different, depending on our layers of life that we've been through, our beliefs, or how much we've been hurt, or what we believe about money, what we were taught when we were kids. So if you weren't taught safety in your nervous system, that money is energetic, it comes, it goes, it flows, or you have no clue of investing or compounding, your nervous system is going to freeze when it comes to that point. When people talk about investing, maybe you understand real estate, maybe you understand shares, maybe you understand crypto. But if you don't understand one of them, there's going to be fear around that. Everything can be learnt, as I realized the other day. Time just needs to be taken to get your head back in the game of where it's at. In my mind, I'm not thinking about crypto or staking or vesting 24/7. I just haven't for a long time. And although I love it, I've just been so focused on training people in breathwork, learning all about business funnels. And now my brain is freed up. I really want to get back into that space because I want my nervous system to feel safe in where I invest and where I create my wealth. Because my belief, and this is definitely not financial advice, is that I need to have my money in different avenues, which means that I like to learn a little bit about it. If you'd asked me years ago, no clue, didn't want to know. But now I understand nervous system, and that to me it's just opened so many avenues in my life. It helped me heal. It helped me understand my business. It helps me work with my clients. It helped with me surviving, traveling, talking to my interior design clients. Because once you understand co-regulation, you can read people. And once you understand what it feels like to be dysregulated, which is horrible, that's when you make crazy decisions. And that is not a place I ever want to make decisions from or my clients to make them from. And so when people step out into this world or creating a business and they wonder what to charge, I see the dysregulation pop back up. And then it almost ruins this world because once again, I believe that if everyone understood their nervous system, knew how to regulate their emotions, we wouldn't lean on everybody else for so much. Therefore, it means our relationships would be better because we know how to regulate. We're not going to sit around blaming everybody else for what happens in our life. We're able to take self responsibility. We're able to heal ourselves. We're able to deal with our own emotions. Therefore, we're able to make beautiful decisions when it comes to business, investing, and understanding our money. We don't avoid it then. Because if your nervous system is in a state of receiving money, clients, opportunities, winning, all of these things, your openness to a new life, new opportunities feels freer in your body. That's when it gets exciting. If not, you've put up all these walls just because you've been hurt one time or you've made a bad investment somewhere. And then you've let that determine your whole life's work. To me, that's wild. I'm not saying I'm immune to it because I've made some terrible money decisions in my life, but I also have learnt a lot from them. It's forced me to get better at things. It's forced me to put my prices up when I needed to or send the bloody interior design invoices because money is energy. I don't expect to go and do things and not pay someone. And when I'm working with or talking to people who are interested in being a facilitator, do you think that me putting them in a dysregulated state, they're going to make a good decision? Absolutely not. So when people go and talk about sales calls and coaching, if someone feels scared, threatened in that moment, and then they say yes and they actually don't want to, or to me, honestly, I don't think there is any bad decision from learning to become a breathwork facilitator. All of the people who've come through the training say it's their best, deepest personal development work they've ever done. So even if you never became a facilitator, it's worth it. Difference when you're paying someone you pay someone 35 grand to do your marketing and there's no return on investment. To me, that's different. So I want all of my clients to understand their nervous system, to be able to make decisions from a trusted, safe space. And in that space is where you can receive. So if you're starting with a block, it just means you're pushing against yourself. We talk a lot about regulation, dysregulation, but how to actually do it? It's being able to take a pause before the sales call, before a launch, before a pitch, before a client. What is your ritual, your prep, your setup to ensure that your body is ready for what's coming next? Because in life, we can't plan what's coming our way. We can manifest, we can visualize, we can set ourselves up for the best opportunity possible, but we don't have control of that. What we do have control of is how we regulate ourselves. So I start every single morning with my breath work because I know for me personally, that has been the biggest game changer in my life for happiness. It allows me to understand, it allows me to start my day with space. Because sometimes when we wake up and our alarm goes off. So to me, I hate the sound of my alarm. I have different tunes or soft music playing. Even that, I'm like, oh, generally I wake up before my alarm. So if there's a moment where I do hear it, I'm already not loving that part. But then I'm able to shift that really quickly by just jumping out of bed, or sometimes I lay in bed and either drop in with my breath or I pop on the video app, I do a meditation. Yes, I still listen to my own meditations and breath work. I love how I teach. Otherwise, I wouldn't be teaching all of these people how to do it. It's just so valuable to start the morning with your left and right brain ready to go. That's when they're the most palatable. But it doesn't mean it's the only way. You can do this at any point in the day. So, understanding what your practical regulation tools are. Because if you're going to put a trade on, you want to make sure that your nervous system is checked in, you're regulated before you drop that cash. Are you listening to your trading plan? Are you listening to your body? Because it was very evident the other day that I did not. And while this may make more money in the year, it will. It's not the game plan that I had ready to go. I'm laughing at myself, basically. So using breathwork as a business tool, I think is a non-negotiable for every single business. Because you're going to have moments in business where you're going to have to make tough decisions, big calls, and you need to know how to regulate. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners that are looking after hundreds of people. They know the importance, but you need to know too. So breathwork as a business tool for any business, yes. Breathwork for your own breathwork business, required, needed. It's all evidence, it's all proof that if you are not regulated, you're not going to make smart, wise decisions. You're not going to be able to be open to receive money. Therefore, your nervous system will keep you broke if you're dysregulated. Sometimes a tough pill to swallow, but worth understanding this because money, like everything, is a relationship. Breathwork to me is the full understanding of your relationships to be a better person to show up in that relationship. Because if you don't understand and you're just showing up, oh, well, it should work out. Why? Why are you just rocking up entitled like you are deserving and owing to this? If you haven't done the work, I do believe everybody is. But how much nicer is it if you come in a regulated space, knowing, visualizing, trusting all your decisions? The best. Your task after this podcast is to work out your regulation tool prior to making big decisions. Enjoy. That is a wrap. The Dark Side with Verity. Thank you for joining and being here to support our guests as they move, shift, and share through real transformation, sharing their stories from the darkest of places, allowing you to see their light. This is where the change will happen. You know the drill. Like, share, chat about it, connect with us. We're here for more, and you know it.